To be greedy when others are fearful is a skill that has really helped me, but it takes a very strong mindset. Everything starts with a mind. If you can never imagine yourself being a millionaire or billionaire, you will never be it. It's never going to happen. There's a lot of people talking about Melbourne is a place to invest at the moment. Whenever those type of conversations going on, majority of the people are saying it's a place to do something. That's when I want to do it. There's deals to be made, and that's how wealth is transferred. What most people do when they're looking at acquiring assets, they're biting their personal name. That's the worst thing you can do. That's the worst thing anybody can do. The only time you want to acquire property in your personal name is relationship is quite important. You go into a networking event, you connect with people, you build a relationship, and you just keep replicating that process over and over and over. There are certain people that know things that you don't know, and you need to have them on your side. The right relationship could be the difference between you being a multi-millionaire or a billionaire. Well, if you do that, all you can do with that $10,000 is you can only buy shares worth $10,000. Would you all agree with me on that? $10,000. And let's assume that shares is giving a Meiji an annual return of 10%. Year one, all a Meiji is getting is $1,000. In 10 years, a Meiji is only going to have $10,000. Are we all following? Mm-hmm. Awesome. Now let's assume a Meiji decides to apply leverage. Leverage is very important. Decides to apply leverage because he knows someone called Collins. I said, okay, all right, Meiji, let's do this. And before you guys start, for those of you that have actually acquired properties, I know you're going to start, what about stamp duty? What about, legal fees? Let's keep it simple for the exercise sake. Meiji's come to me, I said, Meiji, why don't we do this? Why don't you take that $10,000 and go buy an asset worth $100,000, right? And we're also going to apply the same return just for exercise sake. So Meiji ended up taking out a loan for $90,000, and he's also applied his own $10,000 in there, even a total value of $10,000 asset overall value. Same return, 10%. Year one, and Meiji gets what? $10,000. Are you all following? Mm-hmm. Right? 10 years later, how much in growth would Meiji have? $100,000. Now, all Meiji needs to do, because this is obviously leverage, all Meiji needs to do is replicate this 10 times. And that would give Meiji $1 million in assets. That's leverage. Once you can understand this, it's that simple. It doesn't take rocket science. And that's the reason why rich people, like myself, I'm not scared to say it, do not use their money. I would forever always look for ways to use other people's money and not mine. Why? Because if I use my money, very, very minimum I can claim back on asset, because I'm earning so much money, I need things to defer to claim back. So even if I can come up with $1 million cash and I'm looking to buy an asset worth $1 million, I will not pay $1 million cash. I'll be asking, can you lend me $1 million? That's what I'll be asking for, so I can claim those taxes. So is everyone following? Yes, yes? Yeah. Awesome. Fantastic. So that's leverage on a quick breakdown. Now, advantage of leverage is amplification of returns. We all kind of talked about it. Increasing purchasing power. We kind of illustrated that. Opportunity investing and large, more profitable projects. Now, when you also think about leverage, I know some of us might be in the starting point of our journey. Some of us may have never bought properties. Some of us have bought properties. Some of us are looking at acquiring more properties. Or some of us have never bought companies. Some of us have bought companies. And some of us are looking at acquiring more companies. Regardless of wherever you are in this journey, when you start to look at acquiring assets or acquiring companies and things like that, the bigger you go, the more negotiating power you've got. For example, I would use property as an example. I'm not going to use businesses as an example because most people in this room can relate. Just a show of hand, who's acquired properties before? Just so I've got a sense of good idea. Yes, yes. Okay, perfect. 9% of the room acquired properties. So we're going to use property as an example. So let's say for those of you guys that have bought a property before, let's say you're in the market and looking at buying a property worth $500,000, and most of the first homeowners grants, government benefits falls under that application. Roughly, how many people do you think, based on the Australian population, is going to be interested in this? Do you think it's going to be a large population or a small population that's going to be interested in buying this property? A lot, right? So yes, there's going to be a lot of people looking at this. So let's just say 90% of the population is going to be interested in this. All right, let's flip this. Let's say there is a $50 million property. How many percentage of the Australian population you think is going to be interested in this? Or you think could afford to buy this?
0.1%.
I would even go 0.000000001%. Because this is now classified as a trophy home. And most lenders would only lend you up to 50, if you're lucky, 60% of the particular property. So which means you have to have over $30-something million. I don't have $30-something million in my bank account, cash. If I do, it won't be in my bank account, right? To be somewhere else giving me more money, making me more babies, right? So this is where you're going to change the way you think. In this space, these guys want to do a deal. If you follow online, most of all the celebrities that have got this big mansion homes, some of them, their homes have been on the market for over 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And they keep bringing the price down because nobody will buy it. Not even all the celebrities, because some of the celebrities who go in there, look at it and go, you know what, it's not in my taste. I don't like the tile. I have to rip everything up. I don't want to go. So these people are always very open to doing a deal. Now, you get someone like myself, I come in, because for me to do a deal, it's not just about property. Can I do a deal and can he put money in my pockets? If it's not going to put money in my pocket, I don't want it.
Hi, my name is Kiara. I'm a lawyer here in Melbourne. I've attended Collins' workshop today. It was really good. You know, all the information received were very informative. It gets to things outside the box. Not everything has to be in your name, and you can sort of have a much bigger borrowing capacity if you do create a trust or a structure in place that will allow you to do that. And I'm really looking forward to get to know a little bit more, and let's make some money.
You can go to this person, have a conversation, make them an offer, without you even having to use your own money. You would go to the bank, because you know someone called Collins, come to me and I said, listen, hey, I can get you 25 million from the bank. Now, don't ask me how, people start thinking about my income. Please don't worry about that. When you start playing this game, it doesn't work like that. The rules don't apply to you that much. I can get you 25 million. You go, what about the other 25 million? We can leverage off vendor financing. We can leverage off rent to own back. There's so many other ways we can do it, but I'm not going to deviate. The point is, for you to get something different that the rest of the other population doesn't have, you have to do things different that the rest of the other population doesn't do. You cannot go and try to buy properties the same traditional way everyone else is doing it, expecting to be able to fall on this bracket. It does not work that way. So let's just have that in mind. Now, we are in generational wealth. I'm a little bit mindful about time. There's a lot to cover up. Now, in this section, there's only 6 components here, but I can guarantee you all, if everyone understands this, it's game over. Mindsets. Mindset, everything starts with a mind. I called a mate, I said, listen, having a workshop, had a conversation with a few people, started in the mind, and here we are, we're here today. So you basically, when you backtrack, you look at it, you go, this guy sounds like he knows what he's talking about. Yeah, I'll come to the event, right? And you showed up here, but you had to picture yourself in your mind's eye, placing yourself here that you're going to be here for it to, manifest in real life. It's the same way it works in everything. If you can never imagine yourself being a millionaire, billionaire, you will never be it. Never. It's never going to happen. The only reason why I do not own Australia is because I can't see it in my mind's eye. But once I see it in my mind's eye that I own Australia, trust me, the universe will start working in my advantage to make me own Australia. So mindset. So what can we change today to start making the mind work in our favor? Because understand, the mind will believe anything you tell it. Anything. It will accept anything you tell it. So rather than using words like I can't, scrap that. Start saying, how can I? Because when you say I can't, it shuts the mind. But when you say how, it opens up the mind to start thinking on ways I do it. For example, I was speaking to a very wise lady today, and the lady was telling me about acquiring assets and, doesn't know in terms of how she's going to go about completing the assets. And it resonated with me. That's the story of my life. For most acquisition I do, I don't know how I'm going to complete it, but for some reason, the how is none of my concern. I want this asset, I want this business, the how always seems to show up. So there's some sort of element of fate in a way, but when you open up the mind, things just kind of comes in place. We'll go into that a little bit more. Habits, having a routine, having a structure. If you're the kind of person that like waking up at 5 o'clock, wake up at 5 o'clock, having the right habit, having the habit to say, I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to exercise once a week. I'm going to, go to the gym, do this. I'm going to show up to work. And it all falls part of wealth. Wealth doesn't always have to be materialistic stuff. Wealth could also be in your body, in your mind, and your soul. That's what is all healthy habits. Because we could talk about generational wealth. Generational wealth is passed into the next generation. But if you don't teach the next generation the right habits, the right mindset, what do you think they're going to do with that wealth? They're going to destroy it before their generation ends. So generational wealth has three components. You've got the material aspect of things, you've got the spiritual part of things, and you've got the wellness aspect of things. How do I see myself? Do I see myself worthy of being happy? Do I see myself worthy of holding assets? So I would say generational wellness and generational well-being is greater than generational wealth, my opinion. Strategies. You got to have a plan. You got to have a strategy. If you've got no plan, you fail to plan, you plan to fail. It's literally that simple. You've got no plan, you're definitely going to fail. Timing. I love timing. There's something I wrote down here, which is in regards to Warren Buffett, that he talked about timing. It says to be greedy when others are fearful. It's a skills that has really helped me and most investors that I've seen. But it takes a very strong mindset. Now, for example, let's use Melbourne, for example. There's a lot of people talking about Melbourne is a shitty place to invest at the moment. I don't know if you guys have heard about that, just because some of the policies that the Melbourne government decides to place for investors and renters and things like that. Whenever those type of conversations going on, and the world majority of the people are saying it's a shitty place to do something, that's when I want to do it. Because guess what? There's deals to be made. Over time, what's going to happen is the governments are always going to realize people are moving out of Melbourne. Maybe we've got to change these policies to make it suit investors. The bottom line is, if majority of people are doing this, understand there's a few that are doing the opposite. And that's how wealth is transferred. During COVID, there was a massive transfer of wealth. And it always it's the same thing. Nothing has changed over time. Just do things differently. If you see everyone else going this way, remember me, go the other way. And you will be surprised. 50% of the time, you get it right. And that's all it takes. So going back to it, compounding, right? Compounding is pretty straightforward. Only invest in things that compound in asset. Don't go buy asset that diminishes in value. But, if you're going to leave your cash, place it into something that compounds in value, compounds in interest, return. Relationship is quite important. A relationship in the sense that you go into a networking event, you connect with people, you build a relationship, and you just keep replicating that process over and over and over. In the game of being in that realm of 0.0000%, this is very important. You need good relationship, because there are certain people that know things that you don't know, and you need to have them on your side. There are certain people that know certain CEOs that's going to be stepping down that could crash a certain market, and if you know them, you can edge your bet. It changes the game. So the right relationship could be the difference between you being a multimillionaire or a billionaire. Just that alone. So once you know how to harness this, it will change your life completely. Any questions, guys? Feel free to ask me any questions. Let's keep going. All right. I love this quote. Any fool can make a fortune. It takes a man of brains to hold onto it. There's a reason why I wrote this here. It's actually easy to acquire assets once you know how. It's actually extremely easy to acquire assets. Last year, I acquired 7 properties, just last year. 7, which could take most people their entire lifetime to acquire 7. I did that in 1 year. This year, I'll say, okay, well, how can I do 20? It becomes a game. But the big problem is, how can I protect it to make sure it stays within my bloodline for the next 100 years to come? That's where it's difficult. Acquiring assets is very easy once you know how. And hopefully we will know how. Now, this is some of the habits you need to have. It's a must. You must have this habit. Appreciate it. Only invest in appreciating, as we already talked about. Structure in generational. What do I mean by structure in generational? Structure is everything. What most people do is when they're looking at acquiring assets, they're biting their personal name. That's what most people do. That's the worst thing you can do. That's the worst thing anybody can do. People are laughing because obviously you guys have done that. But that's the worst thing anybody can do. The only time you want to acquire property in your personal name is either when you're buying as a first-time buyer and you're getting government benefits. That's the only time. Apart from that, if you're not getting any government benefits, even if it's a home for you to live in, do not buy it in your personal name. It's easier to buy in a personal name, but always remember, whatever is easy ends up being the hardest. Whatever is hardest always ends up being the easiest. Once you understand those rules, it will start making sense. So always think about from a generational standpoint, what would happen once I depart this earth? How would my asset easily pass on to the next one? Do they need to change title? Do they need to pay for transfer of title?
What's your experience been like going to Collins workshops?
Oh, it's been pretty good. Look, I've learned a lot from it. It just makes you think outside the box and learn new things, and it gives you a broader idea on, what the future holds for you.
What's his energy and passion like?
Oh, it's pretty good. Look, he's very energetic. He can sort of relate to you at all sorts of levels, so it's pretty good.
And what impact has Collins just personally had on your life?
He has had a big impact because on this workshop, he was talking about businesses. So I was just thinking of ways of how I can implement what I learned today into my life as well.
The networking after, what was the networking like?
Oh, that was pretty good too. I got to meet new people, learn new things about them and how a lot of them, work around their lives.
And what advice would you have for anyone who wants to come to a workshop?
Definitely attend, give it a go. Look, you just have to attend one and you'll learn a lot from it.
We've seen situations where parents passed away, kids can't even afford to transfer the property to their own personal name because do the title transfer is going to cost them 200 and something thousand to do it. They don't have the money because it was a large estate that the parents had. Guess what they had to do? They had to sell it. But if they had structured it in a way where it goes easily to their care, they won't have to worry about that. So it comes down to structure. Capitalizing on opportunity.
Can I just ask a question there? So are you saying that rather than have the property in your name, what you would have some sort of a trust?
Yes.
That would administer,
Yes.
that would basically apportion the wealth to future generations?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Exactly what I'm saying. Okay. And we're going to get into the trust section later on too as well. Now, teaching the family. Teaching the family early, this is quite important. Then the reason why I bring this up is, do you not know how many millions and trillions of dollars are in unclaimed assets just in Australia? A lot. We're talking about in super and in unclaimed estates. Most people will pass away. Their kids don't even know what the parents own. People pass away, their brothers, their family, their sisters, siblings don't even know what they own. And guess what? The government will hold on to it for a couple of, I think there's a amount of years that they have to hold on to it legally before they give it to charity. We've got billions and billions and billions of dollars in unclaimed super alone. I think last time I checked in super, it was over 15 billion just in super alone. So please, if you've got family member, if for those of you that don't have kids, you've got a sibling that you can trust, tell people or create some sort of will. Give someone some sort of power of attorney because you just don't know when you're not going to show up. That's just life, right? Building strong business network. That's what we're doing. So for those of you that have taken out the time to be here, thank you very much for being here. This way, it all start. And part of being here, please as well, guys, share contact. If there's someone you think you identify that you think you potentially might be able to do business with, this is what all networking is all about. You just don't know who is sitting across the room from you today. The very last one is who you bring within your group. It's also very important. I'm sure you guys have heard the saying that if you're in a group of 5 useless people, you might end up being the 6th one. No, if you're in a group of 5 useless people, you're wrong. You're in a group of 6 useless people. So just be very mindful of who you bring into your fold because that could also make or break you too as well. There are Typically, once you start becoming success, this is what people see. They only see this. You're successful, but they never see, the sleepless nights, the sacrifices that you have to make, the good health decisions you have to make. You say no to those events. There's a lot that you have to give up on to be able to be successful. That's why sometimes you got to ask yourself too as well, do I really want to be successful? Am I willing to give up those sacrifices? Being successful, to be honest, it's not for everyone because you give up so much. So much. So you got to be willing to ask yourself, what am I willing to trade? Understand whenever you're chasing anything, something is going to give. Are you going to sacrifice your health? Are you going to sacrifice your family? Are you going to sacrifice, hanging out with the boys? Are you going to sacrifice, spending time with the kids and things like that? So always remember that nothing ever comes easy to anyone, right? All right. Next.
We've got a question from YouTube Live.
Yes.
We've got quite a lot of people in here. Someone said back on the family, they've said, I've been trying to teach my children how to take over my empire, but they don't want to listen. How can I set them up for success and ensure my legacy thrives when I'm no longer here? Thank you for asking.
Awesome. That's a very simple one. I was also speaking to someone today. Understand this, guys. People that would mostly devalue you are your family. I use an example as my parents, I was trying to advise them. They will come to me and ask about certain things, and I will try to advise them, and they will not listen. But what I've recently decided to do is get a third party, give them that advice. There's nothing to you. Just understand it's just the way we are wired. We do not cherish what's close to us. It's, we take it for granted because, you see me every day, you maybe, let's say, mom and dad wiped my diapers, like that baby Collins nice telling us what, so you got to understand from that. So my advice to them would be get a mentor for the kid. My kids don't listen to me, but what I'm doing is getting them a separate mentor. And the mentor I got is my mentee, but they would listen to him than me. That's what they need to do. So get a third party, speak to the kids rather than them trying to do, because the more they force it, the more the kids are going to get disengaged, unfortunately. This is quite simple. Successful mindset. Again, if you've ever met any successful person, you would be able to pick out these 4 attributes very, very easily. They're always optimistic. They're always looking for opportunity. They've got a growth mindset and so on and so forth. If you're someone that has an opposite kind of mindset, you got to fix that. If all you see is a half full glass rather than seeing, whatever that analogy is. I was speaking to someone the other day and they go, Collins, this is very risky. I'm like, of course I know it's very risky. And they kept on talking about all the potential issues that could come up in that particular trade. I'm like, dude, you do know you only just got to say only one. You don't have to say all this stuff. But what about the potential good that could come up? He said, but Collins, the risk is too much. I'm like, if you don't take any risk, you're not going to get anywhere. Everything is risky. You live in your house, it's a risk. What about if you get hit by a bus? If you don't want to stay in your house, even in your house, what about if the lamp falls and hits your head? It's a risk, right? I know I joke about it, but I guess we've got to be optimistic in a way. There's risk everywhere we go. You look right, there's risk. You look left, there's risk. You can't avoid it. You might as well just, embrace it anyway.